Sometimes the questions that sound the most casual are the ones that hit the hardest. The kind that stop your breath for a second and make you look away, not because you don't have an answer, but because the truth feels too heavy to say out loud. She asked it like it was nothing, like she was asking about the weather. Why don't you have a girlfriend? And in that moment, I realized how powerful kindness can be, because the real answer was standing right in front of me. Before we begin, if you enjoy real-life inspired stories that remind you how small acts of kindness can change everything, make sure to subscribe to your channel name. Like this video if it touches your heart, and drop a comment below. Your support helps these stories reach more people who need them. I met her during one of the quietest, loneliest seasons of my life. I had just moved to a new city for work. New apartment, new job, new routine, but no one to share it with. My days were long, my nights were silent, and most evenings ended with me eating takeout on a couch, scrolling through my phone, wondering how life got so empty without me noticing. She lived in the apartment next to mine. The first time I saw her was in the hallway. She was struggling with grocery bags, one of them ripping at the bottom. Cans rolled across the floor, loud and embarrassing in that echoing hallway. I bent down to help without thinking. "Thanks," she said, laughing a little. "I always think I can carry more than I actually can." Her smile was easy, not flashy, just real. That was it. No dramatic moment, no sparks flying, just a simple exchange between two strangers. But something about that moment stayed with me. After that, we kept running into each other, by the mailboxes, in the parking lot, sometimes at the small coffee shop across the street. Every time, she remembered my name. Every time she asked how my day was, and actually waited for the answer. That alone felt like kindness I wasn't used to. We started talking more, not flirting, just talking, about work, about bad TV shows, about how weird it feels to start over somewhere new. She had this way of listening that made you feel like you weren't wasting her time. One night, the power went out in the building during a storm. I heard a knock on my door. It was her, holding 2 candles and a nervous smile. "Do you mind if I sit with you for a bit?" she asked. I hate the dark. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, candles flickering, rain pounding against the windows. We talked for hours, about childhood, about regrets, about the people who had disappointed us and the ones we still missed. She told me about her last relationship, how it ended not with yelling or cheating but with silence, with someone slowly choosing not to care anymore. "I think that hurt the most," she said quietly, feeling invisible. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. That night changed something. After that, kindness became our language. She'd bring me coffee when she knew I had early meetings. I'd help her fix small things around her apartment. When my car wouldn't start, she sat with me in the cold while we waited for help. When she got sick, I left soup at her door. Nothing romantic, nothing expected, just showing up. And somehow, without realizing it, she became the brightest part of my days. Friends started asking questions. "So, are you two together?" I always laughed it off. "No, we're just friends." And that was true, mostly. The truth I didn't say was that I was scared. Scared to risk the one connection that made me feel human again. Scared that if I told her how I felt, I'd lose her kindness, and I wasn't sure I could handle that. She made me feel seen in a way no one had in a long time. One evening, we were sitting in her apartment, eating pizza straight from the box. She was wearing an old sweatshirt, hair pulled back, completely herself. Out of nowhere, she asked it. "Can I ask you something kind of personal?" "Sure," I said. She looked at me for a second, studying my face. "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" The question landed heavier than she probably meant it to. I opened my mouth, closed it, looked down at my hands. There were a dozen answers I could have given. "I'm busy. I haven't met the right person. I'm focusing on work." But none of those were true. The real answer was sitting 3 feet away, offering me the kindest friendship I'd ever known. I shrugged. I guess I just haven't felt ready. She nodded like she understood, but something in her eyes shifted, just a little. Later that night, after I went back to my apartment, I couldn't sleep. Her question echoed in my head. Why don't you have a girlfriend? Because kindness like hers makes you careful. It makes you afraid to break something beautiful. A few weeks later, she knocked on my door again. This time, she was crying. Her dad had been admitted to the hospital. She didn't want to be alone. We sat on my couch, and she leaned against my shoulder. I didn't move. I just let her be there. I let her feel safe. I don't know what I'd do without you, she whispered. That was the moment I knew. Kindness isn't just about grand gestures. It's about being there when someone needs you most. It's about choosing care, even when it's inconvenient or scary. The next day, I went to the hospital with her. I stayed quiet. I held doors. I bought coffee. I stood beside her when she needed strength. Her dad ended up being okay, but something between us had changed. A few nights later, we walked outside together, the air cool and calm. She stopped and looked at me. You know, she said softly, I asked you that question because I was wondering if maybe you just didn't see me that way. My heart started racing. I see you, I said, more than you know. I finally told her the truth. Not dramatically, not perfectly, just honestly. She didn't laugh. She didn't pull away. She smiled. I think kindness brought us here, she said. And she was right. Love didn't start with attraction or bold moves. It started with listening, with patience, with small acts that said, you matter. That's the power of kindness. It builds bridges before you even realize you're crossing them. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. Be kind, even when it feels small, especially then. You never know whose life you're changing or how they might change yours. Sometimes the reason you don't have what you're looking for is because it's already right in front of you, waiting for you to be brave enough to see it. And kindness? Kindness is always the beginning.